watching the POLCAST.
Good evening, North America. It is Saturday, April 5th, 2025. And we thought we'd come in and do an episode, and as usual, we started a little bit late. But I finally got the kinks worked out, so I think we're ready to go at this point. But we want to welcome you into the POLCAST this evening, and we've got two guests in studio this evening, but they will not be showing their faces on camera. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce Mr. White. Mr. White, you want to go ahead and say hi to everybody?
Greetings.
And also joining him in studio is none other than Mr. Black. Mr. Black, you want to say hi?
Salutations.
Now, before we get started, I wanted to say a couple things real quick. It is getting hot in Florida. It seems like I'm not native to this area. I don't think any of us are. Mr. Black is native to this region, you could say, so he understands the sweltering heat. We go from essentially a hybrid winter to summer. So it is now summer here. So we've got the garage door open because it's broke, and
winter's
very
pleasant.
Yeah,
Very
it's
pleasant.
providing some air, so I'm not complaining, and I'm just thankful for a little bit of air because I'm already sweating a little bit, mostly because I'm not prepared today, but we're gonna roll with it anyway. Not that the other shows we were prepared before, but a little less today, and plus we're gonna discuss a couple topics, and one of them is, I don't know, it's out of my realm because I'm not a finance guy, but I do know when I lose money, I don't like that. And even though it might be temporary, it still hurts. So what I'm referring to is the tariffs. And then something we had spoken about several weeks ago, Mr. White and I think Mr. Black was in that conversation as well. And then lastly, something that has to do with everybody because it's over our heads in the sky. And that'll be a little cliffhanger. I won't say exactly what it is. But before I do that, I recently went out west to go visit my dad. And on that trip, I saw something that I thought was really cool. So I have a gift for both Mr. White and Mr. Black that I'm going to be presenting to them right now. And now this company is not, obviously nobody's sponsoring us. Nobody is sponsoring us, but I thought this was really cool. And although as Mr. Black would say, he really doesn't use this type of, it's like a goblet, because he likes to stay away from any of the dark liqueurs because them are fighting liquors, from what he said. But you still can put other things in these. And what this is, it's called Bearskin. It's artisan crafted whiskey-enhancing wooden tumbler, and I'm going to go ahead and present this to you guys both. And you can put ranch waters in them, which is kind of what we're sucking on now. So there's one for Mr. White and one for Mr. Black. I'll push those over so you guys don't reveal who you are. And I will also hold up mine. See it in the camera right there, but it's pretty cool little goblet. And what's going to happen is I want to hold on to these for a minute though, because we do not want to reveal any. There we go. Masterful, gentlemen.
It's like I'm on the Sean Ryan podcast.
Yes.
Is this going to be the norm every time I come on to get a gift?
It should be.
Yeah, I'm all right with that.
I think eventually we could find it in the budget to get some mechanical hands where we could, you guys could, you can just pinch stuff and pull it forward. So
maybe I can gift that to you as a reciprocal gift.
I like that.
Next time, so that way when you have your incognito guests on, they have something to grab their gifts with.
I like that. One of those, they used to do like infomercials.
Like the senior citizens club?
Yeah. The I can't reach the box of Tostitos or whatever. I'm gonna. You want a little snip? Just a small little snip to. Do you want it? You gonna have a little snip? Okay.
Sure,
I'm
please.
gonna pour. And while I pour for your enjoyment, I'm just gonna play something real quick, and we'll be back in no time, folks. So just bear with us for a second.
Can they still see?
I mean, it's still on. I'm just gonna. So, gentlemen, cheers. Thanks for coming onto the show, and we're going to toast real quick. Cheers. Strovia, salut, all that. And that's not actual scotch. It's apple juice, it smells like.
We don't condone imbibery.
Yeah, we're not here to get drunk. We're here to make some noise. So with that as well, I want I'm gonna engrave these. So you let me know what you want on them. We'll either put them on the side or in the bottom. So then you guys know that that's your.
We'll just do
that's your
Mr.
cup.
White and Mr. Black.
You know what? Fair enough. That sounds like an easy decision to make. So.
Right with that?
Oh yeah, that's perfect.
Okay, Mr. White and Mr. Black. That's what we'll put on there. And it now the person that's doing this really isn't familiar with Dremels, so
Manage our expectations.
yes, exactly.
We can do that.
And you can put a sticker on it if you want, if it really looks that bad. So like I said, the first thing I wanted to start with real quick is what just took place this last week in Trump signing an executive order regarding the tariff situation. And now, like I said, I'm not a financial guy. I don't think any of us really are in here, but we don't like losing money. And I mean, what it comes down to, like we were talking earlier, this is something that a lot of countries have been taking advantage of the United States and our market and gouging us to play in their market or sell products in their market. Anything that we are going to try to proposition them with, in a manner of speaking, we get taxed on. We get taxed heavily.
Yeah.
And for them to do business here, it's not the same. And a lot of people might think that, well, we're the big kid on the block. We have the ability to absorb these losses because we are very wealthy. And I think with what's come out with USAID and all the corruption there, and we just see billions and billions of dollars being lost, that there's definitely, you could see that. We have the money, so they're like, and we'll just take advantage of them. I'm going to show the slide that was posted, and I believe this is by the White House, his staff, and these are the reciprocal tariffs and their current state as of Wednesday, I believe, when Trump signed that. And right off the bat, you see China, they're charging us 67%, and now what we've done is we're saying, well, everything that comes in, we're going to be charging them 34%. And to kind of illustrate that a little bit, show you this really quick before we go back to that. You could kind of this is kind of what people are saying at this present moment. Now that may be true, but what you have to take into consideration is the fact that these tariffs, it's going to take a little bit of time. We're going to feel a little bit of the pain. And as someone who's not a huge Trump or fan or MAGA,
Yeah, none of us wear MAGA hats.
yeah, there's no MAGA hats in here, but I think most of us could safely say that something like this, it might sting a little bit at first, much like putting alcohol or peroxide on a wound to clean it out. But in the long run, it's probably going to benefit us a little bit more, definitely, than what it has been in the last several decades as we've been getting screwed over by all these other countries. Mr. White, do you want to say something?
I'm actually, because I'm probably in the same boat as you. I really don't know much when it comes to economics, right? Like, I have a hard enough time managing my own finances.
Yeah, me
Let
too.
alone how complicated a country is, and then international trading. But when I saw this image, I was surprised that we haven't had matched
What they-
reciprocal tariffs
yeah.
this whole time.
Yep.
Like, if China's been
Stroking us.
has a 60%, 67% tariff on us for how long? Why haven't we had a 67% tariff
Yep.
on China? So like this. So am I safe to assume that these past X amount of years before Trump got in, we had no tariffs?
There have been some. I know even the Biden administration did impose some tariffs. They weren't. I
And
think
we already subsidize so much of the rest of the world outside of tariffs and taxation. Like literally, we subsidize the rest of the world's healthcare, especially Europe.
not
we
only
pay
that.
for it.
Look at Vietnam. They not only I don't want to say routed us,
Yeah.
but
Well, you
we
know
didn't
why?
win the
Because-
Vietnam War, and then you look at that 90% tariff on anything coming in to the
I do know
to
about
Vietnam
that is
from the United
because,
States.
China hasn't really been popular in the past handful of years. So, like a lot of companies have been
China.
trying to do their best is to take their business outside of China.
Yeah.
Vietnam's kind of like the next. It's like the next best thing to China, to where you can still get a lot of cheap labor done, and it doesn't have made in China on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
That's,
So that's them essentially taking advantage of that at 90%, which is it's crazy.
it's crazy. Here's another. I'm going to show another crazy picture here in a second. So you take all these countries into consideration, and now I'm going to show a map of which countries this does not affect. And as you can see, it's really Russia and
Yemen down there.
yeah, the Houthis, maybe, I don't know, and a couple
Nigeria
countries
or
in Africa. That's it. Other than that, this is going to affect the entire global market. And we don't. I'm not. I wouldn't be willing to say like, well, this is going to happen or that's going to happen. But there's something, and it happened the day, following when it took effect on midnight. I think on Thursday morning, you've seen a dramatic fall in the market. It dropped 1,500 points, and it's coming back a little, but it definitely is affecting every corner of the globe. And what will be the outcome of that? I don't know yet. But like I said just a couple minutes ago, that something like this is going to sting initially, and then it's going to force countries to kind of re-examine. I think especially the United States.
This is a message.
Yeah, it's going to force us to look in the mirror and say, maybe we don't need to go to China for so much.
One of the worst things we ever did was outsource all of our labor.
Yeah, or giving them. I think, and I think Nixon's the one who did it. He gave China like favored status.
It was Clinton.
It was well, even
2000.
But I think that even before that, with Nixon, when because he was the first president to go over to China since he might even be the first one, but they were really pushing China towards this favored status to push most of our manufacturing jobs over to China for cheap labor, and obviously we're going to get cheap stuff in return, and like with the example of the hat, but a continuation, no doubt, with Clinton, but. I think, whether it's, I heard something the other day about Whole Foods. Now, I'm sure it's changed in the last couple of years, but a lot of the food at Whole Foods is coming from China. And it's clothes, cars, furniture, appliances,
The
everything.
majority of the products in your house are more than likely made in China.
Yeah.
And this will make you really thrilled too. We get laptops in the government. We get them from Dell, right? And then we have green side and red side. So for those who don't know, red side is the secret zipper, right? Like it's on a separate closed network that you can't access unless you have rights and
Credentials and
yeah. But when we get those brand new computers, on the bottom they say made in China.
China.
Our secret computers made in China. Pretty
Yeah.
sick, huh?
Were you going to say something, Mr. Black?
So the the China computer thing, I think in 2015 they actually found there was a bunch of military computers that were bugged to where they could count the keystrokes,
Really?
the messages, that were going on.
Logs. Yep.
And then to the Most Favored Nations Act, it was started in 1980. I looked it up, and then it was renewed in 97, and then added on in 2000. They gave is a difference of a 34% tax for China against us, and then 2% reciprocal for us.
Really?
And
I
then-
mean, can you really call that reciprocal?
Yeah, right.
It's
And it's only grown looking at that chart, and then going on. There have been several countries since the tariff wars have been occurring the last couple of days. India, Canada, and Argentina they have since ended their tariffs.
I think Israel.
This is following. Yeah.
I think Israel also did.
There's been a bunch of
Yeah.
countries that have capitulated to this and just completely removed their tariffs.
Yeah, other countries are following suit. The European Union and China still haven't bent. China just elevated their tariff.
China.
Previously, Canada charged a 250% tax on things like dairy and wine, but then they have since ceased that. And then the intent, kind of what you guys were talking about, was to cause other countries to either take off their tariffs against us because it's not favorable to anybody, and they're not a developing country anymore, like in the instance of China. So we are subsidizing other nations to get prosperous, and they're living fat, like kind of on our dime.
While we just are fat,
Yeah.
for the most part in America.
And then
Hey, that was pretty fun.
if they don't reduce their tariff, then it incentivizes the manufacturers to bring their manufacturing to the United States. And the idea is that it balances the U.S. pocketbook, and so it stabilizes our dollar again for the global market.
I think too that at least I would hope, like Mr. White and I were talking earlier, we don't necessarily want. I don't want to see like a lot of clothing, maybe on a smaller level, but these big manufacturing jobs to come back. I think what would be better for Americans in general is if we created new markets where there was none. Like one example,
Silicon
the
Valley.
Silicon Valley, or even what just Mr. White just said about the Dell computers. Why aren't we making these computers here? Like bypassing Taiwan and China. We have the capabilities, we have the infrastructure, we have the resources where we really could do something like that and not be so reliant on people that in countries that have nefarious intent and that are doing things like counting keystrokes on computers that are going to sensitive areas within our military apparatus. And I think, just by what you said with those numbers and countries capitulating, that I'll give credit to Trump for doing this because we're seeing the dominoes start to fall of countries saying, well, you know what? I don't want to pay those tariffs. What if we just renege on what we have been receiving? Because it's not like it's been hurting them. It's only been helping them. And like Mr. White said, it's making them fat and happy while it's just making us fat.
Well, and Trump said he wanted to do this during an Oprah interview back in '98.
Yeah.
He did it his
Yeah.
first term.
Yeah, and he said that in his first term, and I mean he hasn't. In that regard, I definitely think he hasn't changed much in his viewpoint of business and how it should be conducted on a global level, and how we've been getting screwed. No doubt, we've been getting screwed. So
Here's the other thing: we're paying for we don't mind buying China-made things right now because it's cheaper, it's easily available. But we're going to pay for that in the back end because, like, all roads
lead to China.
lead to China, and
China.
the assumption is eventually things are going to go to guns with them. So we're just paying them to fight us now.
Yep.
Like, or we just suck it up. We absorb the cost now, bring everything back, and we're not going to be paying our future problem.
How much of their economy do we subsidize?
I think
Chi-
a bit.
China, I don't.
I'm gonna chat GPT that.
Okay.
I want to find out.
While you're doing that, because this is going to kind of slide into our next topic, and what Mr. Black just said. China is deep on our southern border, and also our northern border. They train militarily with the Canadians, and they have infrastructure, and I think it's the roads and
Belt and Road Initiative.
Belt and Road Initiative, and they have managed to get their tentacles in quite a few places within South America, and I would imagine Central America. I haven't really kept up with the Central America aspect of it, but I do know in South America they are deep in.
Well, that's also with the CELAC Pact.
Yeah, but we went over that before last time when we were talking about the southern border, troops going to train the Marines down in Mexico. And I'll go back to that conversation when we were talking about how they are telling these countries, these people in South America and Central America, how that their roots really come from China, and that it only benefits them to be part of the essentially empire of China, on a not on a war footing type of empire, but just contributing to their own expansion, essentially.
And I think as a narrative, I don't really think that really resonates with the Latin American community because they're
Almost.
they're more Western than like the personality, like the Chinese personality does not match like the personality of Central and South Americans. But everybody likes free shit.
Yeah.
And China goes in, they build the smart cities, they'll build the infrastructure for quote unquote free. But then if that country X bankrupts on that low interest loan over several years, whatever, then China owns that space. It also gives China the ability to influence the local
Populace.
populace, and so they use that. But the actual narrative of like you're helping the motherland,
Yeah.
it's I mean, it is definitely something they try to do. I just don't know how much that really sticks.
How much
with
it resonates with the, I can see that, but I just it was something that I thought was interesting because they're willing to try any angle.
Yep.
They're willing to go, or stretch, that gum really long to make it, stick at both sides. And like, I haven't read it completely through, but if you guys know the book Confessions of an Economic Hitman,
Heard of it.
the colonel told me about it. So I bought it. I haven't finished reading it, but it's the Chinese model essentially. You go and you offer something, and you don't really understand the price of it all, or you can't pay back what it is that
They know you can't.
They know you can't.
Yeah,
and
you're
eventually,
gonna default on it. And it's like, hey,
exactly.
because you can't pay for this, we're just going to take some land.
Yep. And that I think is that sounds like the Chinese model. It's very cut and dry, very
Doing it with all the
lizard
smart
brain.
cities all over Central South America.
Yeah. Maybe they're even doing them here.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, maybe some of that fancy satellite equipment
York,
they have
LA.
flying over. Yeah, L.A. Who is it down in? Is it Myrtle Beach that just had some fires?
Did they?
It was either Myrtle Beach or just outside of Myrtle Beach, but the area they've already moved into the planning phase of becoming a smart city. Now I don't know where that land was, where it was, but I think it was South Carolina.
Yeah.
So I could be wrong, but so that we just wanted to touch on that real quick, and because it is going to affect everybody's pocketbook in the short term, definitely. In the long term, I mean, we don't know yet. We'd just be speculating, and I wouldn't want to speculate on money stuff like that. It's just,
I mean, there's professional economic, like advisors and financial dudes
financial
out there,
gurus.
yeah, that do this for a living, and they still get their projections wrong.
Yeah.
Like, significantly wrong.
I have a hard time trusting my money with somebody like that. Like,
Yeah,
hey, give me your money, and I'm going to spend it for you. That sounds great. Sign me up. So transitioning into the other thing I wanted to bring up was what we had talked about several weeks ago, and I got a little video I'm going to play too. I know Alex Jones isn't everybody's cup of tea, but the guy has been right about several things, and I'm not saying I'd let him watch my sister's kids, but he has been right about quite a few things. And several weeks back, before any U.S. service members were down in Mexico training these Marines, and it was such a big deal. And a lot of people didn't realize at that time, and still don't realize that, you know, that's kind of a common theme for the U.S. military to cross-train host force or host nation forces. And the angle of, you know, really taking it to these cartels was and still is an area of concern for me. And what we were talking about is the idea that, you know, they can't come at us force on force, you know, maybe in small ticks here and there, but they're just no match for us militarily. And the way they operate and the evil things that they do are vastly more nefarious than what a lot of these terrorist organizations like Al Qaeda or the Taliban, what they do. I mean, they really drive it home that if you fuck around, you're going to find out with them. And we thought, well, based on their tactics, they're probably going to do things like the story you told of go after soft targets, whether that's relatives, children, spouses,
Family, politics.
Politicians, people that are rattling the cage. They do it in Mexico all the time to politicians, family members. So it makes sense that they would do it here if we are going to start making or putting a dent in their revenue stream. So this last week, there was an episode of Alex Jones, and he alluded to something that he has some connections, and I don't doubt that because he has a lot of former Green Berets and SEALs that are on his show pretty frequently, and he had alluded to the fact that what he was getting, the information he was getting, is that there was a raid, and in the video he'll actually mention what it was specifically that kind of keyed me into, okay, what we were saying several weeks ago, we were spot on. And I'm just going to go ahead and play that video right now.
And it's come out. I mean, think of the war they've been waging against us. These are the foot soldiers of the globalists and the Iranians and all the rest of it. And they're gearing up for big uprisings this summer, and these are their soldiers. And now I got information Sunday from Dev Group, Virginia Beach, that they busted more there working for Sinaloa, but were low-level drug gangs working for them. They got their phones. They had targeting, being told they're funded by Iran to go out and create lists of where special operations people live. And we've gotten the intel from General Flynn that specifically myself, he didn't mention himself, but I learned he was on there too, CIA, NSA information that they have prepared hit list with these cartels. So this is the muscle of the Democrats. It's not enough to cut off their funding. This is the muscle of the deep state. You've got to go after them. And here's the big takeaway. We have footage of this right now in downtown Austin. At the jail, there are a bunch of Soros Democrats protesting, not wanting super hardcore, one of the most dangerous gangs in the world, deported. Absolute.
Okay, yeah, what was left of that, he's just going to show a video of some blue-haired weirdos just standing. There's like 10 of them standing out, trying to keep this van from leaving the central jail facility to take these turds back to Central America. But I wanted to play that to just kind of demonstrate that what we were saying several weeks ago, we were pretty much spot on. And what I know, my limited exposure to combat is that you don't do a lot of fighting in the colder months. You usually wait till it warms up a little bit. And I'm wondering, well, starting to warm up, especially here in Florida. So are we going to start seeing,
It's fighting season.
it's the fighting season. So what do you guys think as far as like, is it not just going to get hot temperature wise, or could we start seeing, some of this kind of play out and maybe we start seeing people get hit? What are your guys' thoughts on that?
There are memos going out by different intelligence cells as far as like state governments,
Mm-hmm.
and then also even federal governments, just like bolos for potential attacks against hospitals in multiple cities across the United States by members of ISIS. And the dates were from like mid-March to mid-April. I would push it back. I would imagine at the end of Ramadan through Easter. So April 21st, if you're going off that timeline, that's when I would suspect it. And Ascari Media, Sarah Adams, Scott Mann, they also discuss it ad nauseum. And they have a lot more information about it. And then a friend of mine even suggested that wait as long as October 7th to see something.
Why October 7th?
Because October 7th is when they invaded or when they attacked Israel. And then October 7th, the reason they chose October 7th was because that's when we invaded Afghanistan in 2001.
Interesting.
So they use a lot of symbology with their stuff.
Very interesting. I put up a slide. Let me actually put this back up because people might say like, well, there's really no, and I haven't seen any really hardcore evidence of this yet. It's still kind of speculating, hearsay, third-party information. But the thing I think people need to remember are these numbers right here, because this isn't speculating. These are hard numbers that came out during the Biden administration I think they first showed these numbers in September of 2024, roughly somewhere around that time frame. So to me, it's like, well, fuck, the Trojan horse is already through the gate. And to think that, well, you got a lot of turds still in the country. I mean, the rough estimates from like ICE and I forgot the other accounting body. We're talking millions of people, and these are just non-detained, non-citizen, convicted criminals, non-detained. So they knew, and they just let them go. Yep. Like, it just baffles me, and I'm sure it probably was like when we were talking about what some of these ICE agents probably are going through, like mentally and having to, this guy's a piece of shit. He's a murderer, and you got to let him go.
Mm-hmm.
And the wear and tear, it works. It works it's multifaceted because you're letting these turds in. Then it's a mind fuck for these guys having to deal with them. And some of them probably like, I wouldn't want to deal with that. I couldn't sit there knowingly allow somebody to come into the United States that's been convicted of rape, murder, and know that there's a good possibility they're probably just going to keep doing it, especially knowing that, hey, the U.S. just not only let me in, they gave me a cell phone, a debit card, and a voter registration and said, we'll take you wherever you want to go in the United States.
Just vote blue.
Yeah, you're all is forgiven. Good luck with your aces. So I'm not hoping for anything bad to happen, but with that many people and coming across the border in the millions, and just these are small numbers, relatively speaking to that larger, millions upon millions of people coming in. Who's to say? And I think the big thing that people need to take away from this is just keep your head on a swivel because, yeah, Trump won and he's doing the right thing as far as deporting these turds, but they can only handle so much. I mean, how many guys can you really, send out to? I mean, I would think you're going to have to at least, by the fighting numbers, 3-to-1 odds at a minimum to take down one individual. And you never see them roll like that, which is good because I wouldn't want to roll 3-1 either. You should have more than that. So it's going to take time, and it's definitely something that it seems almost inevitable that something's going to happen.
Yeah,
And
you have a lot of these sanctuary cities too that are kind of stonewalling ICE,
Yeah.
not letting them go, or not giving them the data or information that they have on these people that they know are in their cities. I think New York City may be helping out a little bit now.
I know they had an issue. I think it was in Denver where they flat out or just letting these guys in Tren de Agua know
that
the feds are coming.
some of these sanctuary cities have known illegal aliens that are known criminals in their prisons, and they're not letting ICE go into the prisons to just take them and deport them.
Yeah. The other thing I saw was
Crazy.
they're helping these guys get their names changed. Yeah, actively saying, well, we're going to help you get your name changed, and then you're not on that list anymore. It makes no sense. It's counterproductive. It's really the sheep letting the wolves into the flock, and just it doesn't make any sense. But you guys have any other thoughts on that? Any other?
No.
Yeah, there's really not too much more you could say on that we haven't already said in the past.
Just stay frosty.
Yeah,
Yeah. Train. Don't
keep your
look like a
powder
soft
dry.
target,
Keep your powder dry, your veins ice, and keep your head on a swivel. So that moves us to the last thing that I wanted to talk about today, and personally I think this has to do with everybody because we all look up and we all see the same sky. Depending on what part of the country, and you may see a little more blue than other parts. And like I said to start off the show, I recently was out west and got a chance to be on the northern end of the Grand Canyon, and I'm out there with my kids, and we're four-wheeling, out in that area. Mr. White's been out in that area before, and it's absolutely gorgeous. And then I look up into the sky, and I see this thing spewing. I don't know what it's spewing, but if I ask, like on X, or say this looks like a chemtrail, looks like they're spraying some kind of chemicals on us, I get tagged with a community notice that says there is no scientific evidence to support the existence of chemtrails. The trails left behind by aircraft called contrails are composed primarily of water vapor and tiny ice crystals formed from the exhaust of aircraft engines, mixing with the cold air at high altitudes. And
They've openly admitted it. They've openly admitted that they do it now. They've even said in different articles how it's like a blessing in like California and other states, how it's just helping the crops grow and all these things.
They're cloud seeding.
Yeah.
They say it's cloud seeding, but and cloud seeding's actually been around. And here, actually, I'll pull this up real quick and read you how long we've been fucking with the sky. The United States began exploring weather modification in the 1940s. One of the earliest notable efforts was Project Cirrus. Is that Cirrus? Cirrus, a collaboration between General Electric and the U.S. military. On October 13th, 1947, they attempted to modify a hurricane by seeding it with dry ice, making one of the first documented instances of weather modification in the United States. This experiment, led by scientists like Vincent Schaefer and Irving Langmuir, whatever, built on earlier discoveries of cloud seeding. Schaefer had demonstrated in 1946 that dry ice could induce precipitation in clouds. From there, weather modification efforts expanded. The U.S. military and civil agencies like the Bureau of Reclamation started programs such as Project Skywater. And as you can see, Project or Operation Popeye, and it goes on. But these are a little different than I think what we're seeing today in like the clouds above us.
Well, weaponized weather modification is illegal per the Geneva Conventions following Operation Popeye. So
would you say like then it's it like they've come out only so far in admitting some of the stuff that they're doing, but they don't go too far where it may be like, we're in trouble, or you think that they just don't care.
Maybe they admit enough to where it doesn't lead to further questions. It addresses like the piques and curiosity.
Yeah.
Oh, it is, but like they said it's this, and they control that narrative.
Yeah.
And they shelf it so that nobody else goes deeper. Is that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. I think, and there's so much information about it now. You can find it in multiple places. You know, where people are talking about chemtrails, and I've heard another term for it, like an aerosol dispersal platform, something like that. And I wasn't able to find the picture because my phone was screwing up, but I was explaining it earlier to one of the other guests that was here, and I saw a plane above me here at my house, and it dispersed whatever it was, and as it started to stretch out or expand over the sky, it took on the shape of a double helix. And it tripped me out, because then shortly after that, two more planes, like they were on a divided highway, they just kind of crossed each other. They had no chemtrails, no contrails or anything. But my conspiratorial mind went down this rabbit hole, was like, well, this thing looks like DNA or something like that, the way it just unfolded. And then there was two planes above it that were flying in opposite directions, the exact same kind of planes, no contrails, no chemtrails. And it was almost like they were there to, like, initially I thought, are they shooting some kind of like frequency into that stuff to maybe activate it? Because there was another chemtrail there too, and it was like, do you combine the two like an epoxy, and then you need something to activate it, like a primer?
Well, usually it just works by emitting silver iodide into the air, and then that binds to the ambient precipitation, and it causes everything to conglomerate, and that's where you get like ice and snow and like that picture right there. So, yep, depending on the altitude, it'll become ice, and then it'll drop as water. And then what makes me wonder too is if this is like the where these fogs are coming from. And then you go down another rabbit hole with a fog, where, because you were saying this a couple of podcasts back, like there's something weird, these weird fogs, and like it leaves a weird film.
Mm-hmm.
So something came up, a few articles, interestingly enough. I think they did some studies in like lower Florida 20 or 30 years ago, where they were actually putting stuff in fog, getting people sick to test. I don't remember why.
Yeah, you said San Francisco, right? Was it in San Francisco?
I think it was there too. It was in a couple of states, but I remember Florida being one of them.
Was that Operation Popeye?
No, Popeye was where they were doing it in Vietnam, the Sante raid.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason during the Sante raid they hit a dry hole was because at the time the Department of Defense and the Department of State didn't talk. And so the Department of Defense was getting ready to raid this huge POW camp and liberate the prisoners. So they're preparing. When they went is a dry hole, because that camp had been inundated by floods that occurred the week before. So the Viet Cong had moved all the prisoners a few miles away, but they saw the assault force go down, and that they said is, even though it was a dry hole, it was a great success because it changed the way that the POWs received treatment from the Viet Cong. But at the same time, the Department of Defense is planning this raid. The Department of State was disrupting Viet Cong supply lines, flooding them so that they couldn't move munitions and personnel and other equipment down to the front lines. That was Operation Popeye. And then following Vietnam, I think in 1979, it became banned by Geneva Conventions to weaponize weather modification. And you can look it up on Geneva, like I've looked it up before on like the official Geneva Conventions website, and it's legit. It's crazy.
And it's like usually the stuff we see at this point, they've already developed it like, several decades, maybe 2 to 3 decades beforehand. Like the stealth fighter is an example. So if they've been doing this stuff for like the 40s, who's to say what they're really doing with all this, spraying stuff in the atmosphere and what it's. I didn't have a chance to really dive into it. Like I said, I wasn't as prepared for this episode, but the thing that kept coming up, and I don't know enough about it to really bring it up, was Gwen towers. These massive cell towers in major metropolitan areas where you have all these different type of
Like 4G, 5G,
yeah,
wireless
and like
frequencies
and much like that that image I pulled it, I'll bring it up again. This up in the upper right hand corner is a HARP facility. And there was a guy last year who worked in the Arctic, in Antarctica, and he was contracted to be kind of like a handyman and firefighter. And he said that because of his job, he had access to most of the station. And he said that essentially they have a setup like in this picture here in the upper right-hand corner located down in the Arctic. And what that array was capable of doing was anything from communications to sending a frequency into the earth to cause
Seismic shift.
Yes, to cause an earthquake, essentially. I can't think of his name, so I'll push for that. But
Why do they want to do that?
if you can control the weather, I mean, if you could make a hurricane appear or a tornado appear, I mean, how do you fight that?
And then what would they? I mean, you could use that to disrupt a lot of stuff.
Or somebody doesn't want to play ball. One of the examples, I heard him talk a couple other times, and he had mentioned that right when he gave a specific date, and it was an earthquake that happened like off the coast of New Zealand, somewhere around that area. And there was one that coincided with what he was saying. But I've heard that, this is speculating, this is third-hand mumbo jumbo stuff, but they were, where was it? It wasn't Turkey. Maybe it was Turkey. Turkey wasn't playing ball, and all of a sudden they had an earthquake. That they would use this as a weapon, as a leverage tool against other countries, whoever that is, the deep state or whatever you want to call it. But the idea that, and personally knowing what I know about like Tesla, when you think of, he said, well, you want to know the secrets of the universe, you need to study frequency, sound, and energy. And he, there was a device he made, and this is, this is almost 100 years ago, a device he made that was maybe the size of a large printer. And I think he was living on the 10th floor of this building in New York. And he was able to tune this device to the frequency of the building, is the way they explained it. And when he turned that thing on, he said the whole building started shaking. And you can actually see it in news reports. And I might even drop that in this afterwards in post-production. But he said the actual building shook, and people called the fire department, the police department, because they didn't know what was going on. And after that incident, he took that machine and destroyed it. Because he's like, if this got into the wrong hands, that the things it could do would be devastating. I mean, you could destroy an entire civilization with something like that if you were able to make something big enough. And all I know is that when he died penniless in a hotel in New York, the FBI raided his hotel room and took all his shit. And they eventually gave it all back to his family. And I'm sure they didn't give him everything. But do you know who one of the engineers was that was sifting through all of his research and paperwork? John Trump.
No way.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And I've seen some other stuff that going down a rabbit hole about him, and he's a time traveler and all this other stuff that it goes way down this rabbit hole. But his uncle was involved with going through the research that Tesla created, and everything from, I mean, Tesla created Wi-Fi. He created wireless communication. You know, and the thing that screwed him over was that he didn't want to make money about it. You know, he wanted to give this stuff willingly and freely. And at the time when it was him, Edison, and the other
Alexander
guy,
Graham Bell.
not Bell, who's the other guy? You'd know the name if you heard it, but there's actually a movie called, it's like Current or something like that. It talks about those three individuals. And you know, he thought that this would change the world, you know, for the better. And the financiers stopped backing him because they're like, what the fuck do you mean you don't want to make any money? So they pulled all his funding. Westinghouse, that's yep. And damn, I can't remember the movie, but there's a pretty good movie that
Current War.
Current War, yeah. Have you seen that movie?
I just looked it up. I'm going to watch it now, though.
I actually haven't seen that. I've seen like a couple trailers of it, but I haven't actually seen it. But I know it's about those three individuals, and they're competing to be the next. You know, what is it going to be? Is it going to be DC? Is it going to be AC? And you know, our entire electrical grids run on Tesla's theories. I mean, it's alternating current, and I think he definitely doesn't get credit for half of the stuff that we use in technology wise. And there was another thing that I don't know if you ever heard of the Tesla Tower. Mm-hmm. He actually built this like,
It caused an earthquake.
no, it was like wireless energy, like
Or shut down.
they shut it
down
they
power?
shut it down. Wait, say that again.
I thought it was something that kind of like what you were describing earlier. It almost caused like an earthquake, but then also shut down power around the vicinity.
That one I'm not for sure. I think it was wireless power, and what I've been reading is that he was harnessing the energy from the ether, like, you know, out of nothing essentially.
Just magnetism.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And of course you can't have that because you can't make any money off it, anything like that. So, but yeah, I mean it's fascinating, and that I would love to do. Maybe we should do a podcast on like just Tesla and some of the stuff he did, because it's like it is science fiction when you really look at it, and it's like, well, wait a second, maybe this isn't science fiction. It's just science, but they've kind of kept it from us because they don't.
Control.
Yeah, they don't want us to. I mean, I said it in the last one. You know, this is great. This thing is awesome. I love my cell phone. Maybe too much, but it's kept us doing this instead of looking up. And I try to be conscious of that all the time to make sure I'm not looking down too much. But I mean, it's hard. It's definitely hard. I know I'm probably preaching to the choir at this point, but yeah, that was pretty much. I did have one more slide I wanted to show. Two slides actually. First, this one, which I think I did hear. Oh, go ahead, Mr. Black. Did you want to?
Well, I guess.
Well, all I wanted to do. I did hear that RFK and Trump are putting together some type of committee or group where they're going to start investigating these chemtrails, and it's like, hey, you're the president. Sign an executive order. Stop these motherfuckers from spraying shit on us. It's like, it needs to stop. There's no reason. I mean, if you can't come out directly and tell us why you're doing that, then you shouldn't be doing it. Like, there's no reason that you should be spraying shit on us like that. It affects, if it is these metals, then it's affecting crops. It's affecting the wildlife. It's affecting our drinking water. Yep. It's probably affecting our neurological ability to just operate on a day-to-day basis, you know, and you combine that with these Gwen towers and all the other stuff that we're bombarded with in the form of frequency and stuff we can't see, radiation, whether it's from your microwave or from your personal assistant, your cell phone. So fucking stop spraying us already. And what did you want to, did you have something else to say, Mr. Black?
Well, yeah, I mean, I know you mentioned previously you wanted to go over, you just bullet points for an FBI raid that occurred, which I think you might have covered that already.
Well, it was in the. We didn't get a chance because we have we have a limited budget. But in the Alex Jones video, actually, he kind of laid it out. And you know what? Why not? We'll play that again. So I'm gonna play that Alex Jones video again one more time. I'll mute us really quick so you guys can kind of hear it. So here goes.
And it's come out. I mean, think of the war they've been waging against us. These are the foot soldiers of the globalist and the Iranians and all the rest of it. And they're gearing up for big uprisings this summer. And these are their soldiers. And now I got information Sunday from Dev Group, Virginia Beach, that they busted more there working for Sinaloa, but were low-level drug gangs working for them. They got their phones. They had targeting, being told they're funded by Iran, to go out and create lists of where special operations people live. And we've gotten the intel from General Flynn that specifically myself, he didn't mention himself, but I learned he was on there too. CIA, NSA information that they have prepared hit list with these cartels. So this is the muscle of the Democrats. It's not enough to cut off their funding. This is the muscle of the deep state. You've got to go after them. And here's the big takeaway. We have footage of this right now in downtown Austin.
All right. Well, we just wanted to play that again really quick. We were supposed to talk a little bit about World War III today, and I think definitely I'm down to do that for the next one. Like if,
I'm
and
sure
I promise,
the situation's only going to get worse.
Yeah, no doubt. It's gonna get worse before it gets better. But I want to thank the guys both for coming out because I am a bit of a procrastinator. And I have a very small budget for this equipment, so sometimes things they don't always go well. So I want to salute both Mr. White and Mr. Black for coming out this evening, and hopefully you guys take some chili home as payment for your services. Checks in the mail, you know what I'm saying? But like always, we do this for therapy to just kind of filter through some of the bullshit in the world that we see. And we hope that if you did watch, that you got something out of it, and that maybe it sparked your interest in something we were talking about. And for me, it's always, keep your head on a swivel, take care of yourself, because if you don't do that, how can you help anybody else or take care of the loved ones around you? Mr. White, Mr. Black, you guys have anything to wrap it up? Nothing at all? Well, with that, I'd like to say thank everybody for tuning in. And you can check us out on the X Machine at Liberty Ape 76. And hopefully we'll be back in, I don't know, maybe a week or two. Yeah. Because, usually it's supposed to go like an hour or two. And they've been here since 7 o'clock this morning. So I'm sure they want to get home to their loved ones. But as always, long live the Republic. And good night, everybody.